Let's get started. Okay, first of all, okay. Good afternoon, good evening. I'm not sure what it is right now. Let's say good evening. Okay, can you all see my face?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm Toby Katz, and on behalf of the Sisterhood of Temple Israel of Great Neck, welcome to the latest in our ongoing film discussion series. As you know, the ongoing series explores the image of the Jew in American film. We'll look at the historical context in which the film was made, contemporary social and cultural conditions in the United States at the time, and how the Jew was seen by general American audiences. Today, we look at Cecil B. DeMille's 1923 silent film, The Ten Commandments. The 1920s, the Roaring Twenties, saw profound changes in American society: prohibition and the speakeasies, women's suffrage, the labor movement, jazz, flappers, migration from the farms to the cities, vast immigrations from Europe, the trauma of World War I and the returning veterans, the lost generation, and basically the stability and values of the old-time religion replaced by a seemingly hedonistic and self-centered culture. And this is the film's background. Why did DeMille choose to make a film specifically about the Ten Commandments? Let's take a look. Okay, why did he make this film? Okay, two historical events came together that excited the imagination of the American people. The first was the rediscovery 1 year earlier of the tomb of Tutankhamun. And here we see the entrance to the tomb. And here we see a picture of one of the inside chambers. You notice the Egyptian costumes and everything. And I imagine this is Tut's mummy, basically. This fascinated Americans. Egypt was suddenly fascinating to them. And the second event that came together with this was Aimee Semple McPherson. She was a Pentecostalist, a media celebrity, and the precursor to the modern televangelists. She was the first to use radio to attract enormous audiences, and she combined faith healing on a massive scale, speaking in tongues, with Hollywood-style production numbers in her church. She literally put on a show. She was a media star. And these two cultural phenomena, combined with DeMille's own personal religious beliefs, gave birth to the film, The Ten Commandments. DeMille was the son of an Episcopal minister, and he saw his work directing religious epics as a calling. He took pride in his ministry, as he called it, in which making religious movies inspired people to read the Bible. He thought he inspired more people to read the Bible than anyone else ever had. And if you remember the quotes on the screen, if you saw the movie, the quotes on the screen always included chapter and verse from the book of Exodus, so people can actually go back and read the rest of the story. Let's take a look at DeMille's introduction to the film. This was his introductory, this was a silent film, so all the words had to be seen as opposed to heard in verbally. Our modern world defined God as a religious complex and laughed at the Ten Commandments as being old-fashioned. Then through the laughter came the shattering thunder of the World War. And now a blood-drenched, bitter world, no longer laughing, cries for a way out. There is but one way out. It existed before it was engraven on tablets of stone. It will exist when the stone is crumbled. The Ten Commandments are not rules to obey as a personal favor to God. They are the fundamental principles without which mankind cannot live together. They are not laws. They are the law. And if you remember, World War I, as we talked about in our film, in our discussion of music that affected social change, at the beginning of World War I, people were all gung-ho to enlist. Remember George M. Cohan's song, Over There? Everybody was gung-ho. Oh boy, I'm going to go over there and fight the Hun. And then people saw the reality once they were there. Trench warfare was incredibly brutal. And that's basically what Demille is talking about. Let's take Demille's mission was shared by his screenwriter, Jeannie McPherson. In an interview about the film, she explained her philosophy in writing the script, and this is what she said. Let me just move myself up a little bit. Okay. Seeing is believing. We believe the spectator would be much more impressed with a story based on the commandments when he first had seen the history of the 10 Commandments, how they were given, and what effect they had upon the people who came in contact with them during that faraway time with the birth of the Decalogue. He would be more impressed than if this spectator had merely some vague memory from some far-off Sunday school days that somewhere at some time the 10 Commandments had been given to somebody. They wanted viewers to actually visualize the biblical text. They wanted to make the text more immediate and more alive. And don't forget, most people had a family Bible, but it was a book. It wasn't illustrated, there were no pictures. So in order to visualize what they're reading, it was almost impossible. They had to think about people they knew. And this way he wanted people to visualize. And if you saw the film, that's actually what Demille did. Let's take a look at some of the scenes from the film. These are stills. Again, we see the quote from Exodus. And let's take a look at the text. Whoops. Sorry. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor, and they made their lives bitter with hard bondage in mortar and in brick and in all manner of service in the field. Now we read this every Pesach. But what does it mean they made them serve with rigor? What does that mean? What does it look like? And that's what Demille showed everybody, what it looks like. Remember the scene where they're pulling that enormous sphinx, and you see them, it's back-breaking labor, they're pulling it. Here's another view of the same thing. They're pulling this incredibly heavy piece of equipment. And we see the strain, we see the rigor. And this scene, if you remember, this is the scene where shortly after the Jew who falls down is crushed under the wheels. It's a very brutal scene, but it shows point blank that this is what rigor looked like. This is exactly what it looked like. Again, remember Miriam is down on her knees praying, Lord God of Israel, see the affliction of thy people, which are in Egypt, and hear our cry. And again, the quote from Exodus. And throughout, we see the word Israel. We're talking about Jews. And God saw the affliction of his people, and he sent into Egypt Moses, the great lawgiver, commanded to free Israel from the chains of the oppressor. And here's the first scene in which Moses confronts Pharaoh. Pharaoh is dressed the same way we saw the pictures in the Egyptian tomb. And this is Moses. Moses, to me, looks like a prophet. In the 1956 film, Moses looked like he just came out of the beauty salon. This is the way Moses was pictured by Demille. And to me, this is what he looked like. The actor was 60 years old. They put a beard on him. And as we're going to see, he's not a 98-pound weakling. Let's keep going. This is Moses telling Pharaoh what's going to happen to his son. And if you remember in the video, the son is not a nice person. And here's Pharaoh's wife when he, recoiling at the thought that his son may be killed. This is the Exodus from Egypt, from the city. And here's Moses leading all those people. And we're going to come back to this scene because there's something very interesting about it. Here's the same scene in color. Again, we're going to come back to this. Think of all this, and here we see Moses leading the Jews into the wilderness. These are really a cast of thousands. Demille really got all these people. You notice it's a black and white film, but these two scenes, whoops, let's go back. These two scenes are in color. Let's explain that. I want to take a minute to talk about the technical aspects of this. The film was shot in black and white, but some of the scenes have a second color. The Technicolor Motion Picture Company was a new company, and it was trying to induce Hollywood producers to use color, which was a radical new concept in 1923. So what they did is they approached Demille and they said, if you want to use Technicolor, which is just one extra color, not what we have today, they made him an offer he couldn't refuse. They said, we will shoot the whole thing in Technicolor. If you want to use it, use it. If you don't want to use it, don't. We're not going to charge you. Now, until this point, there were some bits of color in film. And what they did basically is every still was painted by hand. Not all this color like you see, just maybe one little area of color. It was very precise and extremely expensive to make. So this was an offer that Demille literally could not refuse. So let's see what happened in color. Now, here's Pharaoh and the army and the chariots chasing the Jews. This is a scene where the Jews are at the sea. Pharaoh's army is behind them. The sea is in front of them. And you can see the anguish on the faces. And we're going to get back to this very shortly. Here we see the scene where the chariots are being stopped by a wall of fire. And here we see the parting of the Red Sea. You may not have seen this in color. The version you saw may have been in black and white. What does this look like? This is 1923. It's an incredible effect for 1923. How did they do it? What does this look like? And you're right, that's what it is. What does this look like to you? Anybody?
The ocean.
Yeah. What is it made of?
Ceramic.
Looks like water.
Jello.
Jello.
Oh.
It was done. When you see the film, it's shimmering. This was Jello. They cut it in half, put each half on a metal plate, separated it. So in the film, it looks like it's quivering, like it's the water quivering. They shot people walking on dry land, and then they simply combined the two films. They edited it together. That's Jello. When you see the movie, you'll realize, hey, that's Jello.
That is so
Here we
clever.
see
That's amazing.
it really is amazing. Let's go back and look at the wall of flames that separates. Here's the Pharaoh and his army and chariots, and there's the wall of fire. Now, you'll probably see this in black and white. It looks like a blazing fire. What did they do? They had a clear curtain on which they painted flames.
Oh my goodness.
This is all painted. And then they had fans blowing it to make the curtain move. And it looked like the flames are actually moving, and you see the smoke and everything. And that's basically what it was. It's 1923. This is incredible. This is absolutely incredible. Okay, let's keep going. Here we see Moses and the children of Israel. This is what, in black and white, it looks a little more realistic, but it's still Jello. This is Moses standing at the water. Look at the faces of the people. I'll explain momentarily why you're seeing this realism. And it's a very interesting sidebar to this. Here, this is a famous scene. If you didn't see it, there's thunder and lightning, and the words of each commandment come up on the screen, and Moses is writing it down on a tablet. And think about people who had never actually visualized this, people who just read their Bible without a picture, and think of how incredibly impressive this scene must have been. Incredibly impressive. Ah, the golden calf. Here we see Aaron putting the finishing touches, people donating their jewelry. This woman is going to have an orgy. But this way people can picture, you notice the color is gold actually. And then we see the final scene here, the orgy. And here's Moses coming down from the mountain, witnessing this. And we see how all these people are destroyed. Now, for people who couldn't visualize, if they wanted people to visualize the Bible, this is it. This is really it. Let's go further and go back and take a look at the actors that were hired and why they were hired. Okay. Now, we said that Demille was the son of an Episcopal minister, and Demille was an Episcopal. Halachically, Demille was Jewish. His mother, Matilda Beatrice, was born in England into the prominent Samuel family. And while Demille was shooting the Ten Commandments in May of 1923, his second cousin, the first Viscount Herbert Samuel, was serving as the High Commissioner of British Mandatory Palestine. Demille, although an Episcopalian, always had a soft spot for the Jewish people. Now, to lend authenticity to his film, remember I said we're going to come back to these scenes? To lend authenticity to his film, Demille brought 250 Orthodox Jewish immigrants, many fresh off the boat from Eastern Europe, to the set in the California desert. He hoped they would lend authenticity to the scenes of the Exodus. And this is what he said about his casting choices. We believed rightly that both in appearance and in their deep feeling of the significance of the Exodus, they would give the best possible performance as the children of Israel. And here we see a scene at the sea, Moses standing on a rock. Look at the faces of the people. Look at the desperation. The sea is in front of them. Pharaoh and his chariots are behind them. Look how they're pleading with Moses for help.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Isn't that amazing? And there's even more. A Hollywood reporter named Jack Jungmeyer was watching the filming of this. Oh, whoops, sorry. Going back. Remember I said we'd get back to this. A Hollywood reporter named Jack Jungmeyer was watching the filming of the scene where the Jews first left the city. He was back over here by the gate watching all this. And this is what he wrote. As they passed the gates of the city, a strange thing happened. Above the bleating of the sheep and the lowing of cattle, haltingly at first, then sure, swelled the ancient Hebraic chants, Father of mercy and Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. This was not in the script. This was not in rehearsals. Here was something flaming from the hearts of a people. They took it literally. They took it. Demille was right. They took this literally.
Wow.
And there's more. Remember I said we talk about this scene again? Look at the face of this woman.
Mhm.
Now, an actress who was not Jewish, who was in the cast of the Ten Commandments, she described what she saw, and this is what she said. God Almighty, you never heard anything so sad as the dirge of the Jewish people. They gave the impression that this was it. It was never done before. They were living the time, these people. They weren't acting. And here, remember I said to take a look at the face of this woman and the others. These were the Jewish extras, and they acted. They weren't acting. They believed it was real. And let's get one more impression from one of the actors. An older actor said to the reporter Jungmeyer, "We know the script. Our fathers studied it long before there were movies. This is the tale of our beginnings. It's deep in our hearts, like living in them times when we got the Torah, and now we're getting it all over again in a picture by Mr. Demille. And again, look at the faces, like it's real. When this scene was shot, by the way, this was shot about 4 p.m, and the sun was setting, and it looked like there was a corona behind Moses' head. And they took this seriously. God is here talking to Moses.
Was the actor who played Moses a famous actor?
Well, maybe in 1923 he was. I don't think any of us would recognize his name. They give his name at the beginning of the film. But, many of them probably had never seen a movie.
That's right.
And they were told, do this, and they did it. Years later, one of the Jewish extras recalled the scene when Moses stood on a rock about to part the sea. And I'd like you to hear what he said about this. Okay. Tears trembled on wrinkled cheeks. Sobs came from husky throats. For many, the world had moved back 3,000 years, and they stood once more on the shores of the Red Sea, viewing once more the good omen of deliverance. Now they were standing at the shores of the Pacific Ocean. They weren't actors reciting lines. They were reliving a racial memory. And in reality, for many of these Jewish extras, the vision of Pharaoh and his chariots coming closer and closer reminded them of the pogroms that they had witnessed in Russia and in Poland. And here it is happening all over again. This brings us back to our initial question. What is the image of the Jew in American film? In the Ten Commandments, the image of the Jew was clearly detailed in the words of the contemporary witness to the film. The Jew is a tragic figure. Do you remember that? The dirge of the Jewish people. The Jew is a tragic figure. We'll take a look at other images of Jews. What about these subliminal messages in the film? I'm going to close this for a minute and stop the share. And I'd like us to look at the subliminal messages in the film. By the way, I have no idea what this is supposed to be. It's not a cross. It's sort of like a Mogen David. Listen to this.
Where is it?
Right up here. Where what looks like a Mogen David with a letter with a plus sign in the middle.
I don't see anything.
Oh, because I didn't start it yet. Oh, okay, I didn't start it. So
Okay.
I apologize. Okay, wait, I have to stop this. It's going to start in the wrong place. Okay, identify the music. This is the theme when Moses first appears, and every time he meets with Pharaoh. This is the theme music. What is it?
I don't hear any music either.
Not playing yet.
Do you hear it?
No.
No.
Not yet.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Okay, wait, let me try again. Oh, I think I know what the problem is. Okay, let me try again. Good news, I'm not going to sing it.
Are there
Okay.
lyrics or is it just music?
Well, you'll see.
Okay.
I gotta minimize that. Okay, I didn't set up the screen share. Okay, share screen. Share screen. Okay, now you should hear it. What's the music? Okay, I want to go back to Moses for just a minute.
That's what I said.
Okay. Now, you're not going to hear music. I just want to show you. This is when Moses first enters to talk to Pharaoh. Does he look like a 98-pound weakling, or does he look very robust?
Very sturdy man.
Yes.
Very sturdy man. Is this the way you envision a prophet?
Yes.
I think so too. As opposed, think of the 1956 film. This looks like a prophet. This to me looks like a prophet. Okay. I'm gonna close this out.
Is the music from Kol Nidre? Is that why?
Yes,
it said
that was Kol Nidre. Yes.
And
that
you're
was
right that Star of David did have a cross in the middle. That was odd.
Yeah, but it's not really a cross.
What is it?
I don't know. I
It
have
looked
no
like a
idea.
cross.
I know it looks like one, but it's not. It's like a plus sign.
But it's a-
Okay, it's not. I have no idea what it is, and I have no idea what it's supposed to be. But that's basically, yeah. Again, with the actress who said it's the dirge of the Jewish people, the Kol Nidre is very mournful.
right.
It's very mournful. That's when we talk about the image of the Jew in American film. We're going to discuss the different types of Jews that we've seen. Now he looks like a prophet. How do we know that these people are Jews? How do we know? This is how we know. And remember, well, in the Bible, it says that every tribe had its own standard, and all the members of each tribe would gather around the standards. Here we see the scene at, oh, sorry. A very sensitive mouse. Here we see the scene at the Red Sea, and behind Moses is the sea. Remember I said there was a halo behind him? This is where it happened. This is where it was seen. And again, look at the faces. Look at the faces of the people. There's a Magen David. Now, this is an anachronism. Why? The Magen David didn't come into use as a Jewish symbol until centuries afterwards.
Right.
Yeah, but the point is, in 1923, American audiences would see a Magen David and think Jews.
Right.
So this way, Demille was making sure. In the 1956 version, they were always called Hebrews. Now, I realize Hebrew is also a synonym for Jew. But here, there's no question. These are Jews. Very simple. Jews, the quotes always refer to God of Israel, children of Israel, which of course is what it says in the Torah. But Demille leaves no doubt that he's talking about Jews. And as we pointed out, he himself deliberately cast Jews and observant Jews, as he said, because they would give a realistic performance. Now, he went out of his way to make everybody at home. They had a Yiddish language interpreter on the set because a lot of these people didn't really speak or understand English that well. They had put a synagogue on the set. They brought in a kosher caterer. The reason they did that is because the very first night on the set, they served dinner, which was ham and cheese. And that did not go over very well. So from then on, they went out of their way to make sure everything would be fine, including a mashgiach, including a tent with a shul. I mean, they did everything they possibly could. Demille believed that they would give the best possible performance, and frankly, they did. Wait, let me go back. They did. They did give the best possible performance. Yeah. I want to discuss something else, but before I do, I want to show you what we're doing next. Our next program is our annual Zoom Hanukkah party. And we're going to have popular multicultural music. These are not pieces that you've seen before. They're very joyful and very multicultural. We're going to have a sing-along with that. We're going to have a private tour of the Adler Dreidel collection.
Mhm.
and bring your own latkes and bring your own sufgani oat. And I imagine that the Food and Drug Administration would require me to give a warning that eat your latkes and eat your jelly donuts with responsibly. I have no idea
You
what
can't
that
eat
means.
just one.
Yeah, that's the point. I don't know if responsible is like a dozen latkes, four
Right.
dozen latkes, 4 dozen donuts, whatever. But anyway, eat
Depends
them.
upon the size.
Esquisita hate, but enjoy them responsibly.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, now let's get back to us. Okay, one more issue to be discussed. Do you think Demille accomplished his purpose to get people to visualize the Bible and then go back and read it?
Well, to visualize it anyway, I don't know about going back to read it.
That's what I
But
was
it enabled you to visualize.
right.
Yes.
Yeah. And
I
thinking,
say also,
Karen,
I was going to say can you hear me?
perfectly.
Oh, okay, because I don't know what I'm doing here. But I was going to say also for the Jews who had been reading the Haggadah, now they can actually feel it, like they were there at the Exodus. You know what I mean? Every year we read it.
But we couldn't visualize it
Right,
until
exactly.
that's exactly it. We read, they made
Right.
them, they afflicted them with rigor and all that. But here we saw that.
Right, and for the Jews who were acting, they could feel that they were actually there during the Exodus.
Well, in fact, they even said they didn't feel, they said so. They
Yeah.
said, for us, this is happening again. It's didn't happen 3,000 years ago, and now it's happening again with Mr. DeMille. That
So
they
that's what I mean.
really, truly, they felt it.
Right, so
They
it wasn't
really
just
felt
the
it.
audience that reacted. I think it was the actors also that had that the movie had a great impact on.
Oh, tremendous,
Right.
tremendous. But the people who witnessed this, they said point blank, they weren't acting.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They really believed it. And that's why DeMille brought these people in. He said they not only look at the part, but it will have meaning for them. And it most certainly did have meaning for them. This was an incredible experience.
I mean, even
What-
today, how many of us sit at a Seder and read the story and visualize the 10 Commandments that was made in the 50s? I mean, we still do that.
Yeah,
Every year we
exactly.
watch it, get in the mood.
They always rerun it around Pesach.
Exactly, that's right.
That's it. Karen, you really have to see this. This part of it is only 50 minutes.
Mhm.
And it's tacked on to a longer movie. It's actually like a morality play. Just watch the first 50 minutes. It's so moving. And because it's a silent film, you notice the acting style is very different. It's much more what we would call melodramatic,
Mhm.
because the only dialogue is what you read on the screen.
Okay.
You don't hear
We
anything.
saw, I watched it.
You did. And you saw that.
did
It's
watch it.
incredibly dramatic. Incredibly
get-
dramatic.
Netflix. We had a little trouble finding it. We we
It's
had to
on
watch
YouTube. It's on YouTube. Yeah. Iris, you okay?
That's what we watch.
It's on, yeah, it's on YouTube. It's on Vimeo. You'd have
That
to,
we
it's
didn't
on,
have.
yeah, but just all you do is Google watch the 10 Commandments. You have to go through it a little bit. That's why I put that picture on the flyer, because I wanted people to make sure that they're seeing the right one.
Right.
And that told you it's
Well,
the right.
Google 10 Commandments 1923. That's how we
Yeah.
finally got it. Also.
Well, that was in the instructions also on the flyer, because that's, otherwise they take you to the 56 one.
Right.
Disney Plus.
That's it.
Yeah, I think you mentioned Disney Plus, but there was a charge for that, $2.99 on that one.
Yeah, I know, but the others were free. I said which were free and which
Right.
were not. Yeah. Okay. What about the one last question? We talk about the image of the Jew in American film or American television. Think about contemporary movies or especially television shows. What is the image of the character who is supposedly Jewish? How would you
Moses?
describe these people? Pardon me?
You mean
Or-
Moses?
No, no, no. I mean, in contemporary movies. I'm not talking
Oh.
about Moses or anything.
Oh,
Think of contemporary comedies, dramas, whatever, on film and television. What image do we normally see, which is rather disturbing, actually?
I think lately it's changed than what it used to be. And I think that for most part, they play the roles of lawyers and doctors and are portrayed as intelligent people. A few
Exactly.
years back, they were the buffoons in the comic.
Well, that's the point. Years ago, Jews could either be comic buffoons, money grubbing,
Money grubbing.
connivers, evil incarnate trying to control the world, or tragic figures. Now, and this is something that bothers me greatly. Jews are doctors, lawyers, intellectuals. They're usually short. They're usually not very athletic. They're usually either arrogant or very unassertive. And that bothers me. It's a stereotype. Jewish women are usually brass, bossy. They either have a New York or an Eastern European accent, have horrible taste in clothing, and are very materialistic. This is a stereotype. Unfortunately, you see this a lot. You see this maybe too much. And I'm surprised that nobody bothers complaining about it, because we do not all speak with New York accents. My cousin just got married yesterday in Omaha, Nebraska. We discussed this. There are Jews all over the world, all over the country. There are Jews who are incredible athletes. There are Jews who are incredibly great. But we never see it as ongoing characters. We never see this, basically. Did you have anything else that you saw in the film that caught your attention or caught your eye?
No.
now I have to go watch.
You pretty much covered it very
Okay.
well.
Karen, I know you didn't see it yet, but in what you saw from here, is there anything you think of that you'd like to ask about? Or
No, I'm always curious as to how you get all your information. I mean, it's fascinating to me with all the background information you have.
well, it's actually very easy. This whole thing started because in 2019, the Forward online had an article about this movie. And a lot of the quotes I have were based, if I see something interesting that I think we might use down the road, I have a sisterhood folder and I just put it in. And then when we did the program about the impact of music on American social change, the video that I picked for Go Down Moses had scenes from this.
Oh,
So I said, well, hey, there's a video that we can watch and we can do it in the film discussion. And also, Wikipedia was a source. The Forward was a source. All these quotes, that's where I basically got it from.
perfect.
So that's it. And I found the background very, very interesting. I really, because you can't, to me, when I do a film discussion, saying, hey, what did you think, is a waste of your time.
Right.
If you don't understand the background, where it came from, what was going on at the time and everything, to me, that's a waste. I'm going to stop the recording at this point.